I know everybody is nuts.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. Lord, y'all can tell I'm tired.
We doing too much.
Look, be real. Daylight savings time got me today, y'all.
Me too.
I'm gonna let daylight savings time have it today.
My name is.
You got.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. I am simply Sherry. I am one of the hosts for this evening. I'm sorry, I'm playing with my lights all of a sudden. I'm one of the hosts for this evening. One of the hosts for the event. My week is called From Behind the Microphone, where we take time to get to know the person behind the performance, because performers are people too. I am the third week of the month. We are.
Ruh-roh. Did you get frozen? No! It's a gremlin. It's a gremlin. Okay, then I'm gonna keep talking. Sherry, you're stuck. All right, so we're happy to be here with Keep the Mic On this week. Sherry will normally tell you we are here every week with an awesome and amazing guest and blah, blah, blah. And we are. This is a masterclass. That's what people say. I believe them because it's awesome. I love going back and watching the extra shows and whatnot. Hold on. I'm going to unfreeze you. Give me a second. I'm going to pull her out until I can unfreeze her. That's what we're going to do. So I'm here solo dolo, and this is something you never ever see. Our other host will be in shortly. I'm gonna let Sherry fix her technical issue, and then Kaniki and Miss Cayenne will join you later this evening. Normally, I wouldn't do this part of the intro because it's my week, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So let's do this. There are normally 4 hosts on this show. The first week of the month is mine, and also I'll get back around to that because we're here now. Second is Miss Cayenne, who has passion projects. Third week is Kaniki Jakarta. Oh no, I'm in the wrong order. Third week is Sherry, who has From Behind the Microphone. And the last week is Kaniki J, who comes in and talks about poets and platforms. And if you've seen the show, you know it's awesome. We have this cool interview format. We sometimes have a 5th week, and we have a 5th week artist. We had one last week. We were here last week with 5th L, so we do a whole round table. We talk to everybody. And then, the other thing that we always do is we've had a running list. We've been here since March of 2020. And we keep a running list of all the wonderful, amazing people that we've wanted to interview. We've not been able to get through this whole list. We're still working on the original list. And then we have what's called a fight list, which is all of us wanted to interview this one person. And I swear, if I go back to the list, I want to say tonight's guest, I'm going to go ahead and start doing the prep for this. Tonight's guest has been on this list from basically day one. If I'm not mistaken, you've been on this list since day one. We've had this discussion multiple times. So I was going to try to hold off a second and wait and see if I could get Sherry back in, but I think I'll just go ahead and start, and I'll do the bio. That way y'all are not staring at my face for the next 5 minutes. Anyway, tonight we have, oh wait, I forgot to do the one thing that Kaniki always does. Give me a second. We're going to make this work for what it worked for. The thing I forgot to say, Kaniki always says, and it runs across the lovely bottom for a second. We do this show every week, and these platforms are not free. And if you would like to support us here at Keep the Mic On, oh, there you are. And if you would like to support us here at Keep the Mic On, we are at Keep the Mic On all things social, including Cash App. Now, I'm just saying, support could look like, hey, like, subscribe, share. You also know that we have not all of them yet, because I'm working on it, but most of our back episodes are being uploaded to Spotify as podcasts. So if you're doing stuff and you just want to hear a really dope interview in the background, please find us on Spotify at Keep the Mic On. And I am working on getting this all the other streaming channels as well, so that you have like a plethora of options to come and listen to all these really fabulous interviews. Like I said, we have 3 years worth at this point. So y'all got some catching up to do. It's like binge watching a show. It's kind of awesome. Sherry, I'll pull you in for like 2 seconds.
My apologies. Apparently, my internet decided to just crap out in that moment. So, I heard Danielle, Girl Genius, she gave you all the information that you need. I'm going to sit over here and work on my technical issues and listen to this amazing interview because I've been looking forward to this one since we wrote
Have we not?
the
Wait a
list
minute.
last year, 2 years
I just
ago.
want to ask.
Mhm.
Am I not correct in that we've had her on the list since the beginning?
Yeah, she was. I would probably say that tonight's guest is one of the ones that's in the top 10. Like has been on the list since. Like when I say top 10, when we started throwing out names, this one was in the top 10.
And I don't know how the hell it took us so long to get around to this. Like, I legitimately was like, when are we going to do this?
I think we just, maybe we were having a moment of, what's the word I'm looking for here? I think this was just the day was one of those, well, maybe I think we were waiting for a round table and because we all wanted to talk to her.
I think that's what that was. I think she was on the fight list.
She was
like
on
the round table list or the fight list, one or the other. And
right.
Then I was like, okay, screw y'all, I'm calling.
It took us 3 years to come to say we're going to.
I don't know how this took so long. I'm really trying to figure this out in my head. So I'm going to swap out the bottom.
Go ahead.
And I'm gonna go ahead and start doing this bio. And I'm gonna warn people now that I am actually I warned her ahead of time. I'm going to read the entire bio because this is probably one of the best bios I've come across in some time. So here you go. Tonight's guest, we have Rob Brown. So let me read this for y'all. Look away a little bit because it's on the screen. I can't do this in your voice. I'm just going to do me. Here you go. I was born. Most living can say this. I live while I'm alive, and I can without a doubt say that. Raised in a hole the color of skyscrapers and gunsmoke. I loved hard, so I learned that it makes love hard. They call my city Killadelphia on welcome signs and maps, and I've been writing since I was 13, and I often feel like I'm making a mockery of this therapy by merely calling it writing. But without a pen and paper at my disposal, I can tell you that I would have died and resurrected in the gutter of Killadelphia like my father did. This really does sound like a poem. I am not my father, although well-versed in his swagger and readiness to fight. I have performed with amazing artists and performed for amazing audiences. I have written for and with recording artists as well as authors, and I have myself authored a poetry book, which we've discussed, as well as a memoir entitled The Alpha Woman's Bible, which we will also discuss. I recently learned that a commercial that I've written and performed in is being considered for an Emmy. Hot shit. We will get there too. Then I found out I didn't win. We don't care. We proud of you for getting there. As an experience I'm grateful to share. My friends, family, and men that I've loved are all encrypted in my speech vernacular, my slang, my facial expressions. I have children that have taught me how to love strong and have friends that make my small biological family a huge world into itself. I love Black men like I love God. I love Black people fiercely. And right, that's what I've come to do, and I do it well. I will wholeheartedly 100% co-sign on this shit. I'm bringing you into this stream. I'm shutting the fuck up, and I'm gonna let you do both. But I need you to read the whole damn bio.
No, that was great. No, you did well. That was great.
Everybody, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I was listening to you, and I'm backstage, so to speak, right? And I'm like this. Oh, that's cool. The round table in the top 10. And oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
Because we've literally been discussing this for years. And I don't know how we didn't do this earlier. I think it's literally because every time we have a round table, we only have like 4 or 5 a year. So right. I think every time we came to it, it was like, who are we picking?
Well, it's because I'm a damn trip. I am. I'm a
trip. But
I say exactly what I think. Although having gotten to this age, still intact. You know what I'm saying? I've learned how to temper certain things. I've learned how to use some tact. And I actually listen more than I speak these days, This is the truth.
Yeah,
I speak a lot when it's paying me. Like, to be honest with you, I've gotten to that point where, between gigs and going into these venues, between the schools and the detention centers and stuff like that, that's when I get the chance to kind of like kick it and talk about my experiences, before writing, how writing saved me from those experiences, so on and so forth. So, yeah. What? Why are you looking
I
at me?
want to shut up and I just want to shut up and hear you do. I just want to shut up and hear you do poems for a minute.
Oh, word. I do.
Oh, I forgot about this because we could have just I could have just went in the head first. I do want to talk about that. I'm gonna make myself come back to talking about background stuff.
Sure.
Just because I know some of this, not all of it, but some of it, it's interesting as fuck. But I do want to hear you do. I want to hear you. I haven't heard you in so long.
No worries. I have something pulled up right here, and I just wrote it a couple of weeks ago.
Yay! So we get new stuff. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now.
No doubt. And it's called Mahalkita. Mahalkita means I love you in Tagalog, and I just learned that. And many of you know I come from eyes that slant like a Filipino sunset. And if you didn't know, well, I come from eyes that slant like a Filipino sunset. From chicken adobo and pancit. From men that leave language and spouse, from repeating patterns and regret, I come from brown people. From church roof with steeple. From white woman prostrated to in porcelain prayers and white Jesus and saints on stained glass and confused ass stares from rows of pews. I didn't know I love you in any language though. My mother didn't learn that either. She didn't learn that I love you could reduce a fever. It could heal a head aching with questions of belonging to a people brown, but not as brown as me. I didn't understand my grandmother's affinity for her little chocolate. I just heard, why are you so chocolate? And thought that brown was not a great thing to be. So I wanted to be black, like nights without stars, like the finest of things, like carbon, coal, and caviar. I wanted Mahalkita, my little chocolate drop, just a little bit to replace a lot of self-doubt. I needed to know love from the outside. When men return from outside. From internal wars and battles in the center of every pore that penetrates their skin. When there are villages of women willing to leave their ideals and culture and children for a country that will never really love them, they don't allow words like I love you to be passed on in languages that will seemingly never serve them. I'm a mother and a sister and a friend. I'm a woman and a wife, and my mother just started saying I love you more than 40 years into my life, but language is more than words though, right? My grandmother didn't teach my mother and her siblings Filipino pride. She taught them that the strength and the doing of things will reduce the space where your ego resides, that it was love that had her on her knees scrubbing bathrooms for priests and rectories, and that it was love that put her to sleep on the kitchen floor with heat from the oven to blanket her so her son and daughters could sleep in the one bed and sofa. It was the war waged against their skin that allowed her to love them. It was faith and tradition held tightly in her hands like rosaries, and one step at a time like two fingers cradling a single bead. It was my mother securing 3 degrees so that her children could wear uniforms down and socks up to their knees. It was teaching me to see the world at every angle, and that people are the world at every angle, a language she calls astrology. It was I love you that they both needed, so that the words could ease the understanding before the meaning, like what it means to leave a woman kneeling for men while standing for her children, and what it means to be black and brown in a world that will try to convince you that those have no meaning. I've always known that words pass on like death. They pass on like fury and feeling and forgiveness. I just learned Mahalkita. It means I love you in Tagalog. And it means so much more than I love you in Tagalog. It means I'll learn to say the words, though I'll show you what they mean. Because women will learn to love you whether or not they're included. That means whether you stay or leave. It means I love you now, for me, has way more meaning. Mahalkita.
Oh. You said you just wrote that a couple weeks ago?
I did. I was watching Joe Coy, one of my favorite comedians, and he had done a show in the Philippines and brought some Filipino American artists from here, comedians, and they kind of traveled around and they did the b-boy thing and breakdancing, and they showed kind of like the hip hop in that culture, the hip hop culture in that culture in the Philippines. So they went to different tenements and the whole nine, and they were sitting somewhere after grabbing some breakfast at one of the street vendors, right? Yeah, that's what's up, Robin. You saw that joint? And they were talking to each other like it's great to be here, and they were eating their food. And he said Mahalkita, and I looked it up right away. I went to my translator, and I was like, man, I just learned that. And I told my mother, and she was like, you just taught me something. So it was like, wow, like she didn't hear that growing up either. You know what I mean? Like, so she might have heard I love you, don't get me wrong, but she just didn't hear Mahalkita. So yeah, that was the last part was for all of you. I love you, Mahalkita.
I've never heard it either until just now.
Yeah, I heard a lot of Tagalog growing up, but I learned all the cuss words first because that's what you learn. You know what I'm saying? And so I knew how to translate for my little cousins when my grandmother spoke. Um, my uncle spoke Tagalog, but my mother and her other siblings did not, her sisters. So it was just interesting to learn that something as simple as Mahakita. I even like how it sounds. You know what I mean? And
Me too.
to
And
know
the
that,
more you say it, the more it's like it's just sitting in the back of my ear. Like I'm going to repeat this because that's
yeah,
all.
it almost feels like it makes it easier to say I love you. It's not easy for a lot of people to say I love you. You know, and for me personally, I trust, like, until I learned that and then wrote that piece and read it to myself over and over again. I trust you means more than I love you for me. And then I wrote that piece and I was like, okay, I can give I love you a little bit more meaning these days. Like, you know what I mean? Like after learning it in
Yeah,
that particular language, especially. Um, but
it's
yeah,
weighted. It's weighted for me. I love you is if I say I've always been a person. If I say it, if it comes out of my mouth, I really mean it. Like
right.
I don't throw that lightly ever.
Yeah. See, and it's I trust you for me. I trust you means more than I love you for me. You know. Um,
Yeah,
and I don't make like yours with I love you. I don't promise anything. I just do what I say I'm going to do. Now,
exactly,
if I promise you, I'm definitely going to do it. But I won't tell you I'm going to do something and then not do it. So I
exactly.
don't even deal with I promise. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
just
I say that to my child all the time. I'm like, listen, I don't promise anything, but if I tell you I'm going to do it, it gets done.
exactly. It's just the way it is. You know,
Pretty much.
I watch people around me growing up walk their talk. You know what I mean? They walk their talk, and so I'm sure that's where that came from for me. So
It also means more when it also means more when you see it in action. Like you don't even have to tell me, just it's done.
mhm, exactly.
Like I appreciate so much more when it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Are you the type that will like hear somebody say something that they just like talk about something they desire and then you go get it? Like, are you that type of person? Like, yo, I
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it 2 weeks ago, so I wasn't going to show up without it. It's like their
Right,
favorite
yeah, I do that a lot.
cannoli. It's like their
I
favorite
do that a
cannoli
lot.
from some bakery that, you know what I mean? That their
My
mom used
wife
to go
does
to or
that.
something like that.
My wife does that quite a bit, and it trips me
Oh,
out because I was like, we just talked about this months ago. I forgot I even said it
that's
sometimes.
dope.
It just magically appears.
Very dope.
Like,
Very, very,
wait
very
a
dope.
minute.
No, it's see, but it's your magic.
It is. It
That appears.
is.
That's what that is. So yeah, I love
It
that.
is.
Very cool.
Apparently I manifest things. We just leave it there.
Hey, I've been working. Sometimes I get a little in my head. I don't like to be in my head. I don't like to think a lot. I know that sounds strange to say, especially today. You got to think about everything. I think everything is a thought process, and every thought is shared. Social media has allowed us to share every damn thing we're thinking, everything we're eating, everything we're doing, you know what I mean?
I have
Um,
slowed down that significantly. Not
yeah,
because I don't want to. It's that sometimes I need to process certain things alone, and it's a little bit. You're right. It's a little bit. Somebody said it's a little bit too much. It is a little too much, and I'm not the. I used to be sometimes a little bit of an oversharer because I would like talk out loud and try to work the process out, and people would be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm
mm.
like, "If you want to know how this works, just listen. Trust me, it's there." Now I don't do that so much. Um, my head is an interesting place.
Tallulah said I think too much at rhymes. Now, was that on purpose? Because I love it. I think too much at rhymes. I share too
You
much. I
know,
think too much at rhymes.
you know
I'm
what?
at the
We
time.
just
Some
gonna let
things I
that.
didn't start
We gonna
freestyling.
pretend you meant that exactly as you typed it.
I love that. I love that.
Conscious.
I think too much at rhymes. Ooh, I love that a lot. Now I was thinking yesterday though about all the thoughts being shared. Everything that everybody's thinking, they share it, right? And I was thinking, I feel like that's one of the reasons why poetry slash spoken word hasn't excelled the way it could, like it could have. You know what I mean? At this point, it hasn't. To me, it hasn't. Like it's just recent. Within the last year or so that there's a category in the Grammys for spoken word.
Yeah, that's
You know
new.
what I mean? So I'm not talking like think about the time when we had Def Poetry Jam. There wasn't even a category then. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, and they created something within a category for spoken word artists with audiobooks. Like you know what I mean? And
yeah,
so all
yeah.
these people winning these Grammys that didn't necessarily write poetry, right, or perform poetry. Um, and I feel like the reason why today it hasn't really kind of shot off the way it could unless you're on somebody's album or unless you're, you know what I mean? It has to be something significant, right? Is because we share so much of what we're thinking. And so then who wants to then pay some money to go listen to somebody share what they're thinking just because it rhymes? Like, you know, like it's like
I've never thought about it that way. When
yeah, I mean
people do it,
they
people
do
do
they
it
definitely
though.
do it. They
They
definitely do it.
they pay for the experience of being in the room as I say the things in real time. There you go.
No, that's true. No, and I'm sure they will continue to do that. I'm talking about poetry just going to that next level though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I mean. Like it's gonna be it is where it is. And I feel like it'll maintain here. But don't you wanna like who wants to, you know what I mean? You wanna, you know.
It's taking. I think it's. I feel it's maybe taking steps in other directions. I've noticed that
It's
there are poets that are making it a launching pad for other stuff, but still doing the work for the poetry. Does that make sense?
oh no,
Like
it makes perfect
like like they're I love seeing poetry in commercials. I love seeing I love seeing poetry used for advertisement. I love seeing poetry used in song. I love that they're
oh
like
for sure.
I
And then
love this.
unless it's something significant like that. The poetry, it was poetry that I did for the commercial for ABC for Seven on Your Side. That it was poetry.
Ah, yeah, you're seven
Yeah,
on your side. Good. I
yeah.
love them.
It was poetry, and so and that was a good look. It was a good time, and it was it was great to write and include all areas, DMV wise and all that stuff. I don't even like saying DMV, quiet as kept. I just told everybody that, but in this area, you know what I'm saying. And so it was great using it for that, and then all the other ways I've used it over the years now, right? I've written for different organizations and corporations, and you get contracts to they want something that reads and is very mundane and boring. They want it to be creative and you know what I'm saying? And they pay you to do that. Like there's so much
Yep.
more that you can do with this talent. And so yeah, and if you're gonna go down those avenues, then sure you can take it to another level on that level. I'm talking about as a whole. I just feel
And
like
yeah, yeah, I get it.
yeah,
I'm
I feel
laughing.
like
I'm still laughing at the DMV thing because I'll tell you a
I
secret.
mean
No, I'll tell you a secret. So I am currently in Baltimore. I
mhm,
am from I am from DC, right?
okay. Mhm.
Like here it is. I'm not crazy about the DMV. However, right? If you come outside, if you go outside the area, makes so much more sense. You will notice how quickly everybody goes DMV.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Makes
I'm sure.
like it makes way more sense out of the context of being in the area.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's
I'm sure.
hilarious. Like all the all the DMV people get together and DMV they be like, where you live? Gaithersburg. Like that's
Right?
not that's the outer marker suburbs. Like
Exactly. Exactly.
like
That's
don't
what it
even
is.
make no sense. And it's like, yep, but we're all from the DMV when we get outside the DMV.
I mean, yeah. And it works. It definitely works.
It
Yeah.
does. It's
I live
absolutely
I live in
hysterical.
DC. I live in DC and have a Virginia number. So there've been times where I'm exchanging and they go, where do you live? I'm like DC. And I go, are you
Mhm.
calling it DC? Or I'm like, I really do live in DC. I'm in DC. I just have a Virginia number because when we first moved here from Philadelphia, we moved to Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, we moved to Reston, Virginia, as a matter of fact.
Oof.
Reston, Virginia, yeah.
Rest.
And
Ooh.
I was one of three black people in my entire school.
So
Um,
for people listening who aren't in this area, like again, Reston is outer markers and suburban.
yeah, it's
It's
outer
outer
marker.
markers. It's
You have to say
outer
that.
markers. Yes.
You have to say that twice. Oh, like you sleepy, like that is outer.
Yeah.
But it was an experience. I was going to say it was cool in retrospect. Given where I am now, like okay, I'm thankful for the education I received, given the school that I was sent to, and all that other stuff. But at the time, you moved me from what I knew, and I knew what I knew well was I used to write. I started writing when I was 13, and that happened as a result of moving here. So I feel like it took me from what I knew, which was, my friends, my family. It's very, very small family, so we're very close, and the streets. I know the streets well, and so that became what I would write about. You know what I mean? my family, and not necessarily my friends, but my family in the streets and my experiences. So I'm thankful for the move, although at the time I was salty. It wasn't cool. No part of it.
Like,
And even to this, I've been here for a long time, right? I've been here for a long time, and people still say, "You're not from here. Where you from?" You can't.
I mean, think about it. 13-year-old you, and you're
Yeah.
from Philly. 13-year-old you from Philly to Reston. That's a swap.
Well, and then I was successful in holding that off because I knew we had to move at 13. I got here when I was 14. So right before I started high school, right? And then
Hmm.
right after I graduated high school, I went back to Philly. I went right back and I ran the streets really, really hard until I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And a lot of people don't get to make that decision. You know what I'm
They
saying?
don't. They
And
don't.
I made that decision and I came back here and went to school for a while. That wasn't my thing, you know. I went to yeah. Anyway, and then I started working for corporate America. A lot of people don't know that about me. I worked for corporate America for a long time. I've done practically every job I've ever wanted to do, from teaching to social work to I'm talking about teaching on a university level. Like I've done almost every job I've ever wanted to do, which is it's interesting. Even when I think about my own story, I just be like, yo, you a trip. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, so part of the reason why we were super excited, like why we were like, oh yeah, you need to be on this list, because like I said, some of this backstory stuff I already know,
Yeah,
because it didn't dawn on me until we were talking about this. Like this was like way back when we started the show. I've known you for a very long time.
yeah, this is true.
Very, very like a long time is. Kaniki's asking what's a long time. Kaniki, I was at Mangoes and back before when we were way over there. So we're talking at least 20 years at this point,
Yeah,
roughly.
yeah,
At least
because
20 years at this point.
no, that's about right. Because I started hosting at Mangoes. I was It was 97, so I was 27 years old. And then by the time I think you, even Kaniki, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jordan. Well, I know Brew, my boy Brew. I don't know if you remember Brew, but I think Jordan was 5 when I met Brew. Jordan may have been younger when I met Kaniki in 13, however, because I was bringing her to the venue with me. Um, Shoot, in 97, she was only 1. So I started bringing her to the venue when she could walk and talk and say, I need to use the restroom. You know what I mean? So by 2, approaching 3, she started coming with me. So yeah, that would be about 2000 or so.
She said, Kaniki saying, what did she said? No, the long time question was for you about corporate America.
I worked for corporate America. I came home from Philadelphia. Hey, I love you too, Helen. I love you too, sis. Helen made me a wonderful hat. I digress. I'm gonna get back to that though. Um, Long time. I worked for corporate America. I was 20. Well, a long time for me, Kaniki. About 6, 7 years. Long time for me. Um, made nice money. You know what I mean? Given my benefit, like if I looked at the whole package, I made pretty good amount of money for somebody that didn't have the same background as people coming out of college to do the same thing. The thing about the job I had was that you had to take a test to get it, and I ended up scoring higher than those that just come out of school. So I got the job. But I was an account manager.
That's
An account manager for like Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, just getting the internet in their buildings, not the dial up. Because my company was then bought by America Online, so I ended up working for America Online. So not like the dial up in your home, but you know things that
the
require.
big, huge corporate
Yeah,
account because, yeah,
the T1 T3s, and I had to talk to all the technical people about where the router is going to go and where everything is located and manage the account from that point on. And so
it's
that's
wild when you say America Online. It is
I know.
like there's a okay. So a whole generation of people who don't know what that is anymore, and the rest of us who realize what a giant monster they were back when they came out.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing because when they took over when they bought our company, they gave all of the employees that were with that company. It was a smaller company called ANS, Advanced Network Systems, right? And they gave us all like stock and all kind, like it was amazing. And then once they acquired the company and we had the stock, it was like 2 weeks in, then it split. So then we have more for less, and then it split again. So even more for even less, right? And so it was just a good time to like learn how that works, how that money game works. Corporate America served me that way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
To know that it in a lot of cases for the things you say you want, it's what it looks like on paper. Whether or not that's actually coming into your pocket is what it looks like on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's the long time. That's long enough for me. 5, 6, 7 years. Oh, 7 years.
Corporate and nonprofit stuff taught me that.
Yeah.
It's
You
what
know
it
what?
looks like. It's paper. What it looks like on paper. Yep.
I'll tell you that paper trail is something. But you know what it is, Kaniki and Girl Genius. The thing about it was I started wearing head wraps, and my legs are flawless. Can I tell you that? I get to say that, right? It's flawless.
I believe
flawless, right? And so I didn't wear stockings with my suits, and they couldn't handle it. Head wraps and a suit, like a nice suits, and they were like, "What is she doing? That's like some militant shit, and we not with it."
That is some in this area. That is some blasphemous shit. At least back in the 2000s and the 90s, like they wanted you with pantyhose and the whole thing. And it don't matter if it's 98 degrees outside. You're wearing pantyhose and heels and oh my God! Listen,
when I started working for them, it was like 91, 92. So we're talking.
Yep, 90s, 2000. Yep, I came in to professional life, like this is annoying. I don't like heels. Like I can't stand them. I will take them off at the first chance I get. I can't really.
I love heels. It was a point in time where I only had like I didn't even have like sneakers. Now it's like it's a mix of things, but you go through those little spurts. But again, I digress. Yeah, corporate America was something. It was interesting. It taught me a lot.
I'm tall with a dancer arch. We not doing the heels if we ain't got to. I live in Converse.
Okay.
So,
I can dig it.
I live in Converse. That's it.
For sure.
Oh, that's crazy. But yeah, I was gonna say, I've known you since at least early 2000s. I want to say that I first set foot in a poetry venue period in 98 or 99.
Nice. Okay.
And then I left and moved away and then came back and then jumped back in the scene. I was on the scene while I was gone. I was in Atlanta for a little while. And then I did the scene in Atlanta, which was phenomenal. That grew me, and then came back here. And I'm like, I'm so happy to step back into these venues that I've seen are still here and still growing and still doing so. And I remember coming to Mango's because so for the history of things here, we had Droopy on. You were here, I think, for Droopy when Droopy was here. Were you in the audience when Droopy was here? We had him on maybe a month ago.
I think I tuned in for a moment when he was on and when Jeff was on.
No. He was in the audience when Jeff was on, but we had Droopy back as a guest maybe like a month ago.
Okay, no. I think I was in the audience for both those two.
Oh yeah. But when we were talking a little bit about that, and I was saying that for anybody that was on the scene here, like those two venues were across the street from each other, and so if you did one, you almost always did the other.
Right.
So you were running back and forth across the street like during the week.
Right. Yeah, and you didn't have social media, so it was all word of mouth. So on Monday, I hosted at Bar None for a year. I was the only woman that hosted at Bar None. I didn't realize that till we did the anniversary shows and stuff. So I would say, "Yo, and join me at Mango's on Tuesday nights." And I would shout out everybody else because it was Wednesday with the Bohemian Caverns. It was Thursday with Droopy and Spit That. You know what I mean? And so it was all word of mouth, and I just trusted that they did the same thing.
Yep.
And it was such a great time. But then U Street, that whole scene, that whole area was such a great time. It was actually still Black Broadway. I don't know what you want to call it now, but it's Black.
I don't know what to call it now either.
Yeah.
That whole vibe. I can't. That whole vibe was everything. I saw that.
Right.
I saw that analysis.
Okay, and indeed. Oh yeah, I'm trying to tell you. I did this show. Ken. I did this show at Howard Theater, and It was the reintroduction of Moo Moo Fresh, that album, when it came out. She did the
Ooh.
show. And I hosted it, but I also performed because I was on the album. And a mutual friend of ours made me a kimono dress. And I remember arguing with her. She's one of my greatest friends. Her name is Maiko. And I remember arguing with her because she was like, I don't want to do it if it's not traditional because it goes down to your ankles. And I wanted it above my knee. I wanted it short. So she did it. So she came backstage and she dressed me and stuff. And I put my heels on, nothing on my legs, of course. My locks are up. And I remember going out there and I introduced Maimuna. And the first thing she said when she got on the mic was, I didn't even know. Did y'all see Ra's legs? I didn't know. And I was like, yeah, they short. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
It's like that Tina Turner effect where it's like,
you know what I mean? Yeah. That was back when I was
shorts on them bad boys.
I was riding that fixed gear and it wasn't in vain. I was riding it, you know what I mean? It wasn't in vain. You never really know what you're going to gain from the fixed gear riding, but it wasn't in vain. Those legs were the first things, you know. Between riding that bike and carrying Jordan and groceries and everything else in the house late night and, you know, all that good stuff.
Which for people who don't know, you know, Jordan is amazing. Also, this is your baby.
Yeah, she's
got babies.
Yeah, she just turned 26. She has two sons that are 3 and 4. They are everything. I like them more than everybody, and she knows that because it includes her when I say that.
Aren't you supposed to though?
But I like them even more than her. Like she understands what I mean when I say more than everybody.
Like I say, that's how it's supposed to be.
You know, they're great little boys.
They're absolutely adorable. They are absolutely adorable.
Legs.
I love them so cute. They're so cute.
Yeah, I the best part about it. I mean, I love them and just watching them kind of learn things on their own and how they take in things that they're being taught, so on and so forth. But more than that, I like to spend a lot of time with them and then send them home. So.
Again, the best part of this whole thing, like at some point, my work is done. Not exactly.
I'm trying to tell you.
Enough.
Yeah.
Your mama.
Yeah. and then I get the credit still to be called mother. Like they call me Umi, which means mother. So, you know, they call my mother grandma.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's reiterate. Your legs look great, and you don't look like you old enough to have nobody's grandbaby.
Oh no, that's a beautiful thing. I appreciate that part. Like that part is
that is absolutely true.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that part. I do. I really do.
I know. Everybody's like, because the analysis is tripping too. He's like, Jordan is 26. She's like, 26. I'm old. Because I remember her coming when I remember her coming in to do open mics, and she was not. I think this was 10 years ago. She wasn't even 18 yet.
Right, exactly. But she, you know what? And about 16 or so, if it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
She always had a voice, and I knew that because she went to performing arts schools from elementary school on. She left her elementary school and went to Duke Ellington for vocal music. And so like her voice, she's found her voice really young, but started sharing it with other people at about 16. At which time I was getting her gigs and the whole nine. It's just that Jordan, you know, as with a lot of our children, they're gonna, you know, you put them on a path and just trust they'll walk it and be upright in the whole nine. But a lot of them just create a whole other path from it. You know what I'm saying? They'll dig a hole and be like, I don't want to go straight down the path. I want to go through this hole under this tree first. And you know, it's the whole thing with them. And so she was like, no, I don't want to do it. And in my mind, the back of my mind, I was hearing other voices that she was saying, like, you know, I don't want to do it because you want me to do it. That's what I was hearing. But she just wanted to do something different. Now she's back. It came back around full circle, and then she's into the music thing again. She's been writing her own stuff and recording and stuff like that. So I'm gonna see what happens with it.
I just had this conversation with my child. I trust people you can put them on the path all you want, but I trust people to take what's called the desire path.
Right.
I.e., this again for people who don't know what a desire path is. Like if you ever walk through like say a football field, a baseball field, or some kind of, you know, like walk through grass, and you always have that patch of grass that you see people shortcut through.
Sure.
Yeah, and people shortcut through. That's called a desire path.
Oh yeah.
It's the one that everybody walked on, even though the sidewalk is right here. It's too far to go that way and over. So you take the one that's the shortcut. I
Yeah.
trust people. I don't trust people to take the path. I trust people to take the desired path always.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I've been I'm gonna use reprimanded for lack of a better word because it's more to it than that for not going either one of those. I'm just gonna I might not even want to go today down any path, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go a different way, or we're gonna fly over it. I'm gonna parasail over that. I don't want to walk it. I've been that way for a long time, and you get it's a lot of people that are very uncomfortable with that, man. Whether it's desire,
Mm-hmm.
they're very uncomfortable with you kind of just being you, genuinely. You know, you see, I purposely stayed away from authentically. I don't like using that word anymore. It's how people run words into the like grounds, like they're trash now. Like, it's ridiculous. But like I just,
Like, what does that really mean anymore?
yeah, I just don't. I don't know what it means. But transparency is huge with me. You know what I'm saying? It's really huge with me. And so, I kind of got to walk my talk when it comes to that, because I'm open to it. I like for people to be as transparent as possible and kicking it with me, because I'm going to be. And sometimes the truth is seen as harsh. You know what I mean? But when honesty is based on your feelings. Can I be honest with you? Let me be honest with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But the truth,
But the fact that
people.
you have to ask for permission for it is even crazier.
You say what now?
The fact that people feel the need to ask for permission to do that.
Oh
May
yeah.
I be honest with you?
And like
Like,
I said,
really? I
it's rooted
expect
in,
this, but
yeah, it's rooted in niceties, and being nice is nice, but being kind is like that's genuine. Telling the truth to me is like it's genuine, and being nice, being kind is genuine. Everything else is just like, let me make sure I account for your feelings. Not that that's not a great thing to do, but you
I
know.
will always account. I will always account for feelings because I don't want to step on toes
Oh
as
no,
much as
I'm
possible.
not talking about, yeah.
But
You got to be
but
grown.
the fact that we feel like, can I be honest with you? Like, what did you expect me to? What were you expecting me to lie to you? Like, I'm not going to do that.
Well, a lot of times when you hear that first, though, can I be honest with you? You're about to hear some shit.
Yeah.
About to hear I'm about to hear some unsolicited shit like I ain't even ask for. You know what I mean? That's usually what
Yep.
they.
I didn't
Can I
ask.
be honest with you? No, you can't. You
No.
didn't
I
ask.
prefer you just tell me a lie.
Exactly.
Like, this, at this point,
Lie
go
to me. I would like to be entertained, and I tend to visualize. Lie to me.
ahead.
Lie to me. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Please go ahead, lie. No.
You
I really
know?
want you to lie to me here because I feel
Exactly.
like whatever is coming on the other end of that might be ugly. But that's what I mean about asking for permission. Sometimes it's like, yeah. Speaking of transparency and honesty and all that other good fun stuff, since we're supposed to be talking about this book, right?
Hmm.
So I specifically want to start with the memoir.
Sure.
We get back to the poetry book, but I specifically want to start with this memoir.
Sure.
So a lot of if a lot of what my segment deals with is I usually talk about writing and process and that kind of thing. And just kind of like I love digging into people who specifically writers. Like I started this segment talking about writers, but I actually want to expand it like artists, like of all kinds. Like,
Right.
what does this process look like? But start with tell us the name of and where to find this book, and then we talk about the actual book.
Sure. Sure. Alpha Woman's Bible at this point, if you want it like right away, especially like on some Kindle type of stuff, of course, it's on Amazon then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there was a link, and I probably need to share that link. There was a link. Let me tell you how crazy it is and how long it's been since I've even checked. This is really horrible. I'm about to say this, that I've even checked for orders, even though there have been orders that have come through. I haven't checked them in so long. Anyway, there was a link, and I actually send out the copies myself, because once they sold out, I didn't really order like a huge shipment like I'd done the first two, well, 4 or 5 times, right? And so, if you want a quick download type of thing, it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. Otherwise, they can always email me. Do you have that? Do you have that? They can always email me,
I
and
believe
let me
I
know
have it. I can always, if you cool,
share
I
it.
can
Share
always
that
add
to
it
you.
to the chats.
Yes, for sure.
We
And we
add
can.
all the things to the chats. And then FYI for those who you see the things at the bottom. We always talk about direct support and that kind of thing. So like info, well that way. It's always the opposite way of what I think it is. This pointing thing kills me in this app. It's hilarious. It's the opposite of what you think it is. The IG's over there. The Cash App is down there. That is to say,
Yeah.
direct ways to support you and or order the book.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
There you
And
go.
it's in the email. Just to make it easy, it's my IG name is Rodiga@gmail.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Everything, you are all the same, everything on all the socials and the things.
True. This is true.
You
Yep.
are, I love that. I'm mostly the same way. Most of my stuff is branded the same way, except for one thing. Well, no. Half of my stuff is branded as a poet called Genius, and the other half is branded as Read Writes, because when I'm not doing poetry, I write for a living. And so the writing brand is over
Sure.
there.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, and people, they call me by my whole name when I'm writing, like for the living, like, the writing for a living. I've been doing for a while. Isn't that a wonderful thing? It's a wonderful feeling to write for a living. I'm telling you, it's a beautiful thing.
It is. I have been in some capacity writing since I was 15.
Yeah, that's a great thing. You know what? It's funny. At 15, after having moved here, right? I went to Fairfax and I registered a company as a consultant. 15, called Dancing Inc. INK.
Okay.
And I would take orders because I had a phone in my room. My mother got me my own line, right? Which, my own line, you know what I'm saying? We was popping about, okay. So I had my own line, right? And I would take orders from like my mom's friends and then whomever else they would tell once they received their order. I would take orders and I would write for people, print it on his handmade paper so you can frame it, or charge you extra to frame it for you. And I would write for different occasions at 15. And so my neighbor, for example, she called me over. I sat down in her family room and I jotted down points. I said, just give me points about the person I'm writing about. And so she would say, she's the matriarch and she'll be 90, and just different points that she definitely wanted mentioned in the piece. And the piece would, of course, not exceed that sheet of paper. You know what I mean? Because it was a couple.
That's crazy.
And I would write that, and they would pay me $150.
Yep. Oh, that's awesome.
I was 15. And so I've been on that level in terms of getting points about what it is that has to be mentioned, rather. Recently, for example, I wrote for the 75th anniversary of the United Negro College Fund. And the gentleman who was honest with me, honesty, right? Was honest with me, told me, I'm not creative. I'm not a writer. Okay. So I just need you to mention these points. And when I tell you, this man had so many points that he wanted to go into a 3 to 5 minute piece, I was like, wow. And then on top of it, the beautiful thing about writing, if they want to put it to like video and such, is that they need the voice. So then you charge extra, of course, for the voiceover. But yeah, so it was just reminiscent, of course, of doing what I'd done when I was younger, and I've done that for different organizations and companies since, since I've seen you, and since I've been on the scene, and since I've hosted, and then when I'm home, when I'm not traveling to do things like that, when I'm home, I have a contract to teach at the detention center, to go in and teach them how to do what I do. You know what I mean?
I actually have a note about talking about that too. It's funny that you say that, because literally what I now do for a living is that I am a speechwriter.
Nice.
That's what I do. Literally, it's
beautiful.
What do you want me to say? Give me some points. I'll make this work.
Exactly.
If you want to know what I always say, if you want to know what happened to the kid who wrote essays, essays for other people in college and high school, how you doing? How you doing?
Indeed.
Writers, I promise you, they did.
All of it's a beautiful thing. Even writing essays for people in college, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it all.
I was writing resumes. I was flipping resumes and cleaning up essays. If I wasn't writing them, I was cleaning them up. Like, here, let me edit your essays for you. I can do, Nice. And I've now gotten to the point where I'm now speech writing, and I'm like, all I need is bullet points. Just what do you want to say?
That's it. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy? Like the mind, like not everybody's mind works that way. I understand that as a writer, right? I know not everybody who writes works that way. Some people take days to write a piece, and I get that. I understand that process. I just learned as a result of what you just said, getting those different points and such, how to do it faster, especially having written for as many artists as I've written for.
Yeah.
So just for example, just here local, because he's from here, writing for and with Raheem. I'll get in the studio, and if he wants me on the album, which is usually the case, 10 times out of 10, he wants me on the album, right? Hey,
Mm-hmm.
right here, I'm singing about this, that, and the other, and I really just want something that speaks to the people and just loving being black. I'm like, that is
That's
it.
it.
So, and he never. We got to a point. It's kind of become like a little, a little thing that's comfort. This comfort zone where he doesn't want me to bring a piece based on the things he told me. He doesn't want me to bring a piece that I started writing at home. He doesn't want me to start writing until I get to the studio. And I got it after a while because I'll get there and I can hear the music, and it's of course it's blaring,
Yeah.
So I'm listening to the music and I can hear it, and he might be doing some riffs and some ad libs and whatever's going on, and I can actually hear it and kind of vibe, and then I'll write. And so it only takes me a few moments, 15, 20 minutes. I'm finished with the piece, and then I record. And with me, I'm kind of one of those one and done type people. You know what I mean? Because I'll do little things while I'm recording, like and they'll record that and they'll put it in the, you know what I mean? They want to get all the things that you do in between the words that you say, because all of it is music. All of it adds to the music. The words we write, the gestures we make, the sound effects, everything. Even if I was tongue tied or got twisted up, and I'm like, they'll use that for something, some type of way. Put an echo chamber on it for whatever strange reason, but it works. It works.
It works.
Yeah, it works for sure.
Yeah, I'm hearing this and I'm like, yeah, the process gets faster.
It does.
As soon as you realize, I had to do my baby got home from the airport. Yay.
Nice.
He
I'm glad.
decides to walk in the room and I'm like, hey, it's like, oh, please.
That's what's up. Happy return. Happy return. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, you just glad they home safe. And after that,
Oh,
you're like,
no,
listen,
trust me.
I hug you when I'm done.
Now that I know you're here, exactly.
Yeah, right. You've been gone a week. I think you can hold off a couple more minutes for a hug.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I did say I wanted to get back to we're talking about you teaching.
Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I am going to get back to that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
I'm just in this moment, I've decided that that's likely the best thing to call me. I'm a prompt teacher, if that makes sense. I teach classes through words, beats, and I know, right? Through words,
I
beats,
have so many prompts. It's ridiculous.
man,
I
I'm
love
telling
prompt
you.
writing.
And I pull a lot of these prompts just from things I found myself saying to someone, and it was like, I like that, you know what I mean? And so I'll go into the backstory when I'm talking to my students. Like today, I was such and such, and this happened, and the man dropped a jewel, and so I said this, and maybe it's the jewel he dropped that's the prompt, or it's what I said in response to it. But yeah, I'm a teacher, an artist teacher is what they call it, right? So I teach through my art form, and one organization, Words, Beats, and Life. I've been teaching with them for about 10 years or so, and teaching their poetry class. And then I'm at the detention center as well as a school, an alternative school called Kingsman here in DC. And it's cool. I don't know if it's. Let me not say that. That's not proper. Not that it's not proper to say on the show. It's not proper because I don't know that I honestly or truthfully feel that way. What I was about to say. I find moments of inspiration in doing it. I find fulfillment in doing it, but I only find moments of inspiration in doing it because it takes a lot for me. So it's not, it's not really, the onus is not on anybody outside of myself anyway. But I remember teaching early on and just being so inspired by some of the young people I would cross paths with, because, their stories are incredible and fucking earth shattering, some of them, and difficult and traumatic, and you know what I mean. It's a whole lot to them, and the reason why I'm not as inspired by those stories anymore is because they're like that and they're still the same. It's just like this. It's cyclical, and it's like fuck, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
These things are still happening, and so at the very least, for me, in being an addition to anything in their life, if I can just provide this platform for them to express themselves and to say just that, if that's all you want to say is fuck, You know what I mean? You'll have that opportunity kicking it with me because I'm not gonna censor you. Even though guards around you might be like language, and I'd be like, but I fucking cuss all the time. Like I'm not but you can. I'm like, so can they? Like, what do you mean can? Can and can't. We don't even that's not even part of my vocabulary. Like
Are we
seriously,
talking? Are we talking young? Are we talking what
we're
age
talking
range wise?
we're talking well, the population I've dealt with recently are 18 and older. And then because I deal with lot of the Title 16 youth here in DC, and Title 16 youth are those that are in for heinous so-called heinous crimes.
Yeah,
But they age out at 21, so they have to
yeah.
go to jail and then await sentencing in a lot of cases, and then they go to what I call big boys. They go to the big boys after that, and this is DC, so a lot of them under Title 16 are going to the feds. They're going to the feds. Because it's DC.
It's DC.
What state prison would they go to? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
right,
they're
right,
going
right.
to go to the feds, and so it's really interesting because you sit down and you talk to them and you learn some background and what makes them tick and click and then you hear about when they want to share it because I never push that. Then you hear about what it is they're in there for, and it's like they go together, but the things that they tell you and they don't go together. It's like damn. I get in here and you run up to me like you're 12 years old. Like, Miss Brown, I was writing from last time like they're so anxious to share these things and so willing to share them too. Um, and that's a big deal because I was taught real early that you don't have to know how, you just have to be willing. So
Exactly.
their willingness is inspiration, but not like it, not. And the clever in their writing is inspiration, but it's probably not the word anymore. It's probably not the word anymore for me. It's I don't know. It keeps me going. You know what I mean? It keeps me. I still want to do it. Let's put it like that.
This is an interesting topic. It's actually something I want to like. There's a couple people. One I have not. One is a previous guest we had on the show, and one is somebody I actually have on a list to bring on, like maybe sometime next year, that do specifically this work.
Okay.
Like you probably know Kim B. Miller.
Yes, I do.
Kim works with Diabolic Haitian, Shashir.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know that they specifically do one with teaching poetry to I believe it's specifically women in prison.
Oh
I,
wow.
I
Okay.
believe she specifically does stuff for women in prison.
Okay.
And so I've been like meaning to get her on here as well. And that this is going to be a good comeback to like, hey, we've discussed this. I want to get some perspective from there too. But this is really interesting.
Yeah, it is because as a result of doing this and then having other artist friends of mine between here and New York, especially that work with populations like this, I was invited to teach a class of Rikers. I thought that was really interesting. Yeah,
The hell?
and it's funny because when my homeboy called me, he was like, "Yo, we'll just get you a burlap bag. You know what I'm saying? We'll put something on you to come up in this joint." And I was like, Rikers,
Yikes.
you know. But you know what though? To be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know that at any point in time going into any of these facilities, I was ever um, scared. I wasn't fearful. Like you know what I mean? And I think the reason why is because of my own background and running in Philly the way I did and some of the things that I've seen. You know what I mean? Um, but prior to teaching for like Words of Peace and Life and the detention center, I taught for Upward Bound, and I taught for Upward Bound at the Latin American Youth Center. So I had a lot of Latino students, Black students, and Ethiopian, right? And so I remember when the class came in ninth grade, and I had them ninth through 12th grade, the same class through that program. And I remember them coming in, and I said, I'm here to effectively, and I taught the English class. It wasn't even a writing class. It wasn't creative writing or poetry. I taught an English class. And I told them that my job was to effectively teach them how to fuck up the English language. And I remember my students were like, they're
Wait,
looking at
what?
me. She said, well, and I said, because when it comes down to it, so you got Ethiopians in the class and they're bilingual because they speak Amharic and English, right? Then
English, right?
you had the Latino students in there who spoke Spanish and English. I was like, for the most part, you all are trilingual. They were like, trilingual. And I'm like, yes. You're trilingual, right? I'm bilingual. They're like, you are? What other language you speak? I said, watch this. And everybody in here is going to understand my other language. They were like, all right. I said, if you just finished an interview and you're in the interview and you have your tie on, I'm talking to one young man, you have your tie on and you say, yes, sir, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much. My name and information is on my resume. Please reach out to me if you need any other, references or anything from me. I really appreciate you taking the time to see me today. Right? And you go out and you loosen up your tie and your boy comes to pick you up and you jump in the car and he'd be like, yo, what up? And you'd be like, nah, I mean, and you just told him about your whole interview.
You did.
It's just another language. And they were like, oh, shit, you're right. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just wanted to teach them how to use it, use the language, that is, in a way that they communicate what they want to say and reach the people that they want to reach the way they want to do it. I didn't want that English class to be something that had them like this, in this box. I didn't want that. You know what I mean? I wanted them to use what I taught them in that English class, to pass their English class in their everyday classes, right? But to also express themselves.
You gotta love really good English teachers.
Yeah, I couldn't. I'm going to say this, and I don't know if they would ever hear this, but I couldn't get rid of them, man. They stayed with me the whole time.
And don't believe her when she says she was mad about it.
I wasn't. I wasn't. I saw one young man, 9th through 12th grade, and he would come to events of mine afterwards and support me. He is now married with a child.
Nice.
But it is what it is. And I had him 9th grade English. He'll tell you. She was like, she came in, and I remember one young lady. This is funny, Danielle. She said, Miss Brown, how old are you? And I said, 37 at the time, right? She said, oh, I said, why? She said, because my mother's 35. I was like, oh, that's what's up.
Okay.
And I said, why are you so perplexed by this? She was like, because I just sat here thinking to myself, what is my mother doing? And I was like, damn. Oh, you are hilarious. Her name was Mariah. Mariah has children now too. But she was just like, Miss Brown. And I just remember her sitting there like this. And I was like, I'm 37. She was like, what is my mother doing? That was hilarious. So yeah, they were very expressive anyway, between the comedy and just the things that they were experiencing outside of school, in their homes, in school. It made for a great English class and made them pretty dope writers. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
If I had just a small part in that, you know how people say, if I had a small part in it, then I did my job. But yeah, I know I had a small part. No, fuck that. I know I had a small part in it. You know what I'm saying?
It's absolutely true. You did exactly what you're supposed to do.
And I still don't feel like my job is done. So no. I'm glad I could be a part of it, though. That's the thing. I'm thankful for so many things. It's not even funny, Shorty. I really am.
But isn't that true about all things writing related? Your job ain't never done.
Ever? Have you, man?
Ever?
When I wrote Malhakita, for example, right? I didn't think to myself, this is going to be it. But so many times I've sat in front of my laptop, had all these lines in my head that I jotted down in different places, voice memos in my notes section, you know what I mean, in Word, just lines that I'm going to use in something. And I'll sit down and I'm going to write that piece, and it's going to be the last piece I ever have to write.
I laugh because I know that's a lie.
I know, right? But it's like saying, I don't want to have any more experiences. There is no more growth. This is it for me. You know what I mean? It's kind of like saying that. But it still makes me feel like.
And then you're almost done, and then you're like, you go back and go, I could have fixed this, I could have fixed that. It is okay, so writing is a living thing. You can fix it. You can fix it for whatever you want. You can shorten it up. You can lengthen it out. You can make edits and go, you know what? That made sense back in 2005 and 2022. That makes no sense. Let's go ahead and let's not reference it like that.
Exactly.
It is a living thing. It is never finished.
And that's funny. You just call it a living thing. I like that. I'm gonna tell my students you said that.
It is never ever done. And as a writer, you will never ever find. Even if you write a book, you have a book. You have all people. You have a memoir. This is not a finished product.
It's not, because I'm not even the same person, or I've grown from the person that even wrote that book. Like that book was amazing to me because I was like this, like I was in it. and I knew when it was finished, and it was just nonstop. And it was crazy because it was based on experiences I was having at the time. And I'm such a I'm such a maze of a thinker, right? And it comes out that way, comes out in speech that way, especially on paper at times. So when I write something and I really like it, I'm like, that's it, because it takes you around in this circle, and it lands you exactly where I wanted you to land. Um, and I feel like that about the Alpha Woman's Bible, except it really did do that. And I remember at Shay, this one sister, she was like, yo, your book read like one of my professors in school that used to drive me crazy. And I was like, why? She was like, because he always took us all these different places, right? And he'd take us there, and then by the end of the class, all the places came into to one place. But we wouldn't even know it was going to arrive here. We're just over here, and it was like, wait, wasn't he just talking about? Oh, okay, so you know what I mean. So it was like, what did he just? This motherfucker just. It was, and I was like, I know, I get
But
it.
those make the best stories though. Because
I
you're
mean,
like, I don't know where this is going. I know where we're supposed to be, but this I don't know where we're going. And I don't know how we're getting there. But I know what I think is gonna happen. I don't know. And then you're just like, shit.
hey, I am not gonna lie to you. I just kind of, I write that way. I kind of think that way. I probably communicate well. I think I'm communicating and it's pretty direct, but I've been in enough arguments to know that that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? Been in enough disagreements to know that that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, but not always the case. You know, I do my
What I
best.
call this? You know what I call this moment? I
With the,
okay, so because people who know me in this circle call me girl G, they call me Gigi, right? So I have this thing I call point A to point G. I know what point A to point G is. I don't necessarily need to explain to you what the middle part is. Just know we got here. Stay here. Don't ask me about the stuff in between.
yeah,
If I had to explain it to you, that's the story. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. I
sometimes
just,
that this part is the story, and it goes. B might be over here, C might be down here, E might be here, F this here. G is, trust me, from A to G is a straight line. Don't ask me how we got there though.
oh yeah, no bull. But you know what it was? I think I know what it was for her though, and anybody else who read it and felt that way and expressed that to me. It was that I might be taking you on these different missions, right? Just to tell you the lesson that I learned about all the missions combined, because in some type of way, shape, or form, they gelled, they connected, right? It was the fact that I would talk about this, I would tell one story, and in the middle of it, literally while writing and remembering the story and writing it down, I would be inspired to write this piece. Something would come to mind, something over here in this other part, this other compartment, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I would write that piece in the middle of these two stories. And it was like, and then tell you beginning the next story, I don't know why I just had to get that out, and then go into the next story. So if you don't know how I communicate, or you don't talk to me, if you're not a friend of mine who's read the book, I know it had a lot of people like,
Wait, what?
wow, yeah, yeah.
But and the thing is, if people don't know, they should know. There's so many like really interesting like half the stuff I couldn't like if I didn't know it was true, I'd be like, listen,
Oh
man.
yeah,
Yeah, I
had
know.
some interesting things happen. Yeah, I've had some interesting things happen in my life, and I've made some interesting things happen. And yeah, and whether the outcome was not in my favor, wasn't necessarily in my favor, or if it was, I'm still, I really, I say this, I keep saying this anyway. I'm thankful for a lot of things, because I remember my mother. Did my mother tell me this? And then I saw the quote later on in life. She was like, "If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will suffice." You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And I'm not, I'm not highly religious. You know what I'm saying? But I like that, and I trust that that's the case. That if that's the only prayer I say, then it will suffice, only because of how I feel like it's so sincere. Like I just trust that people don't have to do shit for you, man, unless they want to. People don't owe you anything. You know what I mean? I don't owe anyone anything. They don't owe me anything. And so, thank you is just one of those things that kind of it bridges that gap, so to speak. Like, I know you didn't have to do this, so thank you. Thank you for whatever effort you put forth in making this happen for me. I'm thankful. You know what I'm saying? And so those I wanted to kind of make that the thing, even in the memoir. Like, yo, these things happen. This thing made me happy. This man makes me happy. Today, if I wrote that same book, it'd be like, I don't even know where he is today.
Mhm.
I'm still happy about that happening. But look, it happened like this time. Like, you know what I mean? So it's so very different in those moments to, that's when I stopped and prayed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like,
I will,
gratitude is everything.
before I even get into the next thing, I will tell you thank you.
Oh, for sure.
Because no, true shit, whether you realize it or not, like in this whole long, like you have played a part in this whole journey to here. And if I have not said that, then thank you.
Oh no, I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate you saying
So,
it.
so seriously, like
Yeah.
I have gotten into this thing of like making sure that I tell people, like, if you did not know that you had some role in this, thank you.
Yeah, 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 for sure. For sure. And you know what? It's yeah, it's a lot to even realize that have that be a realization that that there are people that are shadow figures for, when it comes down to it, that are integral part of the whole person that, what I'm saying?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
you
yes.
know.
But like I said, but I have, because you said it, like, because you phrased it that way. I was thinking to myself, like making sure before we get off here, I say this
Oh, for sure.
because, yeah, because it's one of those things where every time I've had someone on here who's been sort of that you played a very integral part of, hey, I would not be doing this thing had this not happened, had I not run into you at some point,
Yeah,
had we not had an interesting conversation. I was like, thank you.
you know. You know who does that a lot? When he's interviewed or he gets the chance to talk about it, Droopy. Droopy's like,
Yes.
yo, Rod taught me how to. I caught him one day. I don't know if I had tuned in or if Kaniki texted me and was like, yo, Droopy just mentioned you. And I tuned in because I didn't realize it was going
He
on.
did. He did.
And he does it often. It was not the first time he'd done that. He does it often, and it's really cool. I saw him, he and Dwayne perform their gumbo to mumbo joint,
Mhm.
and it dawned on me that I hadn't seen it like theater, like the way they put it on theater wise, and it messed my head up because what I did witness, I was just like, this is amazing, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so, and it made me feel like I was thankful that he thanked me. Like I was like, oh, that's what's up that you even took the time to even say anything. But it was like, yo, the way you write and the way you perform, and you know what I mean, and then even the way you host, it translates to the way you host and all that other stuff. When you include me in any of that, like, yo, bro, that's you.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely. Because one of the things that, especially if, even if you didn't, you weren't on this scene like as a regular, if you came through this scene,
Mm-hmm.
if you touch ground here anytime in the last, like, God knows how long, in the last,
It's been a while.
like, even legitimately, if you've touched the ground here somewhere, your name will come up in circles. Like, I know her. She's a great host. She's a great poet. It's how we ended up. It's literally how we ended up here. Because, like I said, with the first 10 names we popped up, we were like, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 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 yep. We want them on the show. When we were crafting how this works.
You know what's funny is I thought about this the other day. I thought, a lot of people, especially like Baltimore and like even beyond. Well, no, Philly knows I'm a poet. Before I'm a host, they know I'm a poet. But
Yes.
Baltimore is more like, oh no, that's Rod. Like she used to host, man. It's like a lot of them don't know I write, and that's so wild to me. And I know it's not on anybody for real, because once everything started changing and shifting, and you kind of passed the baton, so to speak, and gentrification and just stuff happening, shit closing, shit opening, that doesn't allow the space anymore for us to do our thing. It's like the claim to fame was hosting for a long time, and I love that because it took it didn't take any time to get there to in terms of hosting. It was kind of not even a fluke. It was kind of like somebody didn't show up because she didn't get along with the person who owned the venue, and then
I'm hosting. Yeah, there
I
you
no,
go.
I started calling names off a list, and voila, years later, John Good is coming through, and Amir Suleiman is coming through, and all these amazing people out of Atlanta, out of Atlanta.
And we've had John on here. We've definitely had John on here before. On
Yeah.
my second
Oh,
time.
he's one of my favorite people, let alone artists. So
Mine too.
all these people from everywhere who have come through Mangoes, and it was like, wow. Like, I mean, I've had Erica Badu there. I've had, you know what I mean? I've had India Ari. I had I can't remember her name. Elaine Ellen. Oh, I can't remember her name. Guitar player. Bad. She was like a young Tina Marie,
Oh,
What is her name? That's horrible. And then Life Jenny, like so many people had come through just on some, I heard about it, and it was a word of mouth. I didn't have a DJ. I didn't have a band. I just had a mic stand, and a little stage, something that, and it was just like, wow, like, you know what I'm saying? And all the people that I met and what it did for me in terms of notoriety, it was huge. And it's just a beautiful thing.
that is a testament. That is a testament to you, though. Like, so the thing is, that's a testament to you. Like the fact that, I mean, people know you as a host, and you curated some phenomenal spaces. I did your other show. I did your the other one too. When we were in
Sweet and Natural.
Yep.
Sweet and Natural was one of those things. You know how long it took them to get me to say yes to hosting
that? Why?
Just because I knew Mangoes, and Mangoes was the platform that it was comfortable, and it wasn't that Sweet and Natural wasn't comfortable. Let me not say that. I can't say that. It was comfortable. It was comfortable mentally. It was like I did what I was supposed to do. Like, you know what I mean? I did that. And so to come back, honestly, it made me feel like I wasn't moving up. Not away from, but I wasn't excelling in that art form to then go back and host Sweet and Natural. But I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I'm glad that you took that on, because that was a really interesting venue, and it was a really interesting concept, and I really liked that show. And it was completely different from what you had been doing before, but it was
yeah. The will work for food. That's will work for food. It was like you get a plate and whatever I collect in this joint, and that was the other thing too, because I've been an advocate for paying your features and your host what they're worth. You know what I mean? And people like 13 people I've talked to over the years continuously, Kaneki, and I talked to on the phone like, hey, we get on and rap for a couple hours, and then might not speak again for a couple months, but I keep a contact with that way. I've always told them, I have this going on, and if give them their flowers. Exactly. If they have space for another artist, I want you to come in here and teach these kids what you know too, blah blah blah. Get your paper, bro. Get your paper. Like, you know what I mean? Like, know your worth. That's a huge thing, and it's a big deal. You know what I mean? Because it's needed. It's needed. So
I am going to divert myself to the questions I actually usually ask during the interview, because I'm going to pull two from there, and then I'm going to open the floor up for you to do something else as far as poems go, and bring in my co-host. We'll do it in that order.
Sure.
It's not off topic. I usually ask people. So, and I'm curious because it's you, and I've been waiting to ask this one too. I've been waiting. I always I go through the segment, I talk about writing process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I always end up asking somebody what they're reading.
Oh, wow. It's a reread for me. Recently, I sent my daughter 2 books. One is You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and the other one is Illusions: The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach. I'm a huge Richard Bach fan, as I am an Osho fan. In The Mustard Seed, I always go back to The Mustard Seed. I take my time reading it. I remember my mother gave me A Course in Miracles. She was like, this will be a lifetime read. I kind of treat The Mustard Seed the same way. So I just went back to Illusions: The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah by Richard Bach. He is the author of Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is one of his most popular books that people know the most about. It's literally about a seagull.
Yeah.
But Illusions is amazing. And it taught me a lot of things, and it gave me a whole lot of, it added a lot to my imagination, and helped a lot with wordplay later on. And so I was like, I'm going to reread this, since I just sent it to Jordan, because she was like, can you please send them to me? can you please send me can you send me the books that a list of the books that you've read? I was like, sweetheart, I don't even know where to begin with a list of the books I read. You know what I mean? But since I sent it to her, I was like, we'll read it with her and we're going to discuss this. It'll be maybe my third time reading it. So.
And I always like asking that question because at some point I've been pulling it together. I'm going to do a curated like book list based on all of these episodes that we've done.
Yeah,
because
I love to get that.
Yes, yes. There have been some amazing recommendations, and usually we get them, we post them. As a matter of fact, when I can get analysis back in here to post these books
Sure.
in the chat, or I'll do it the next couple of minutes while we're doing Q&A. Like I'll post them because I love to pick people's brain about not just like I love getting into the writing process, but I also like asking like literally, what are you reading? You know, what are you reading? And yes, I am working on a curated list, like a whole curated list over the last few years.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. I love that. And I'm sincere. Oh yeah.
That was an interesting question, especially when we were doing these shows in the middle of trying to be quarantined.
Oh yeah, of course.
That was how that started. Was I was asking, I was like, listen, I know we're all doing a lot of writing, and I actually didn't do a whole lot of writing while I was in quarantine, believe it or not. Like while we were stuck, I was like, I'm not. Like I took a mental break and I did more reading than writing.
Beautiful. You know what? The quarantine, the pandemic, and having to be indoors, it was not a good time for me. You understand what I'm saying? But it was lucrative. I was teaching classes for the National Education Association, and it was all adults in the class, and we were having creative writing and poetry classes, and they paid me really well to do these classes.
Yeah.
And so I did about four of them, two at one month, and then two another month, and then end up doing it during the summer again. And then one of the classes resulted in an open mic 2 days later with me and Talib Kweli hosting. It was amazing. It was just a really good time. Like, you know what I mean? Just and so I kind of, made my connections. It's funny because hosting with him, he and I spinning off of one another. What you think about this, Ty? What you think about this, Ra? It was interesting because that was the first time we'd interacted, and we're on an album together. We're on a song together, and it was the first time. Yeah, it was the first time we were meeting and interacting.
I love the like it's not even like purposely. It's like I love the casual name drop. Like yes, so I've been on the album with.
It's a beautiful stuff.
No, it's hilarious. Coming from you, it's hilarious. Because like anybody else, I'd have been like, yeah, okay, so we gonna wait till an hour, some changes in the interview to just casually go. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's a song called Black Gold. It's for black men. It's talking to and targeted towards black men, called Black Gold, and it's myself, Raheem Devon, Scarface, and Talib Kweli.
And I'm just gonna listen. If I could throw my pen at you, I would.
Now, name dropping would be me doing this. So the last recording I did with Raheem was a remake of a very popular album that we had to get permission from the family to remake. And it was beautiful. Raheem did a beautiful job. He didn't try to go off with the vocals. His voice is impeccable on his joint. And he put me on a few cuts. But one of the cuts he put me on was with Raekwon and Ghostface Killah.
Okay, yeah, that you can just go ahead here. I go ahead and do it for you. Here you go.
Thank
you. Yup.
Yeah,
I might drop my mic is attached to the back of my mic is attached back there. I do have a mic in here. I can just.
I know that's right. It just was like, I get to be on this joint with Wu-Tang. Like it don't even have to be all of them. That's just like,
No, it don't. I promise you, don't have to be all of them.
Yeah,
you said one, and I'm cool.
Yeah, that was a dope experience and dope feeling. So I can't wait for that to drop next year. So yeah.
Which actually is a good segue for what I'm going to hold off as my last question for now until I bring everybody back in, which is, what are you working on? What do you have in the works? When can we see another project from you?
So I did a lot over the spring and summer,
Good.
Nexus group and performing different places. I had a great time. But I put together all the pieces. All of them are done and edited for a little chapbook, just something real slight, real quick. And I really did think I'm going to drop this little chapbook real quick. However, there is another book called Body Parts that's kind coming to the it's very memoirish. It's and it dives in. It's very raw and in its truthfulness. You know what I mean? It has those parts of it where you ever have you have a friend that was like, I'm not the nice one, talk to her. It's like
Mhm.
it's kind of like that too, because that's the first thing my husband will tell you. I'm not the nice one. That's my wife. He'll say, I don't really want to go be around them. I'm not that damn friendly. Like in straight face. You know what I mean? So it's kind of it's one of those books. It's raw in not just my opinions about shit, just experiences. You know what I mean? And where I arrived as a result of those experiences. And as hard as those experiences were, were, it just they softened me so much. You know what I mean? I thought it's the experiences in those little boys that softened me a whole lot. So it's a lot of pieces about the family members, my family members, those closest to me, my mother, my father, my daughter, my sisters, like that, right? And the things I learned from them um, that weren't always great. The experience wasn't great, but I wrote about the experience, different experiences in a piece, and what I kind of got from it. And it's called Body Parts, and that's coming. That's coming. I'm going to say that's coming in the spring because I said around my birthday, but it's not going to be around my birthday. I'll be in LA for my birthday doing some performances. I was just asked to do something in Cuba with Kimon because he wrote a play called The Night Michael Jackson Died, and you know
Ooh.
we were going to do a reading of that over there, so that's pretty cool. Then I have a gig coming up with NEA again in December this month, and I travel this month on the 20th. So I move, I do my thing, I move around
I
and
say spring. I'll say late spring. We'll say late spring.
for
And
Body Parts.
yes, we'll say I will say late spring.
Okay, late spring. You could say late spring. That's fine.
I'll
It's not.
manifest it at late spring,
Yeah,
which will
I
be
trust
great.
it. I trust it will be. I trust it will be then. It's just a matter because all the pieces are written. It's
Yes.
just I have to pay for the artist that painted. It's a painting of his that I want as a cover, so I have to pay him
Uh,
for use of it. Not that that's what's holding me up either. It's just kind of getting my head around it and how I want to do it. What I want to see drop first. Like, do I want the joint I'm on with Raekwon, like the
yeah.
album to drop first and people to know me outside of this area and Philly and from here to New York maybe on this side of things. I want it to kind of spread first and get some more attention, if you will. So then when I drop that book, you know,
Yeah. I was gonna say, regardless of whichever way this goes, when both of those things come, we come back into our anniversary. We come back in March. So anytime when we're carrying this over into next year. We're we're coming up on the end of the season for this year, and then we'll wrap up until like January, and then come back, and then. But whenever these things happen, that the first thing I'm gonna do is like, so let's update you on this news. We got such and such.
yeah,
We always talk about people we've had on the show and like
gotcha.
all the things that they have out. So trust me when we're gonna be like, hey, go get this. And also, I will tell you that I want that book on that bookshelf that you can't see over there.
Okay.
When I
Body
talk about books, I usually have a copy either in my hand or somewhere sitting over there.
understood. Yeah, it's a big deal to me. It's just it's a lot. It's a lot that I allowed myself to go through. I'm one of those people who trust that you consent to the fuckery if it's taking place in your life. And I'm not talking about on the level of like domestic abuse and things along those
No,
lines.
no, no.
I'm talking about relationship
It's
shit.
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, and I really am. And so, as a result of being a person that trusts that you consent to the fuckery, as you consent to the compliments and the accolades and such, um, there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. And so, it's a mind fuck. You know what I mean? It's a mind fuck. It's not it's not a mind making love. It's not mind sex. It's a mind fuck. And so,
Mind.
sometimes you have to recover from such a thing.
Yeah, yeah. Mind. Sometimes you need a break from mind
Yeah,
fuck. I need to let
yeah,
that sit over there for a minute.
exactly. You know what I mean? Like spaghetti legs. You know what I'm saying? Afterwards. So yeah,
Hmm.
I just want to I just need to kind of get my mind set to actually put it out there because it it it's just the one piece about my father in particular. I don't know that it would make him feel very good, but it's the truth, and it's not like a horrible. It's not a horrible. truth. It just is the truth.
It just is.
Yeah, it just is. And I'm speaking about my biological father, the man who raised me. I call my father as well. So it's a piece in there about him. I call him Pop though. My Pop. It's a piece in there about my father, a piece about my mother, and it's interesting. And even the piece about my daughter is like it's interesting. There's another young lady who's been in my life since she was a teenager that I well she didn't want paperwork, or she still wants, or she did want paperwork, and probably still does want paperwork. I don't remember how it went. That I kind of adopted early on. Both her parents are gone, and her mother was kind of like, okay, she's yours now, and so I, helped to raise her as well. And it's little things about even that, and my daughter's reaction to that, and it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with everybody else's temperament and to be considered the strong one. And so who do you go to when you're not your strongest? Like, who you get to reach out to, and who's gonna come take care of you, and you know what I mean? And so it's a lot to do with that without being on some victim shit. I'm not a victim. You know what I'm saying? I'm not. It's not like that. It's just a.
That is not a word I would ever associate. That is not a word I would associate with you, like ever. Like those two things don't go together.
Yeah, it's just a realization on my part, and sometimes it can sadden me, and then that doesn't last very long because I can be very detached. You probably can tell that about me. I can be pretty detached. You know what I mean? I can be that way, but I know that the times that I've used that with times that I'm talking about, that I've been said, it's a defense mechanism. So there's a lot to deal with when you learn yourself, man. It's a lot. It's a lot to be like, nah, yeah, okay, I fucked up. Oh yeah, I did that. I was tripping, and to take responsibility, accountability for certain shit. You know what I mean? I'm not so bad at that. I would venture to say I'm pretty good at that.
Mm.
At being like,
my go-to right now is accountability and therapy. I'm cool.
Word.
I laugh, but I'm so serious.
Yeah, but and that's a good thing. It's just that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Gigi, I like Gigi. That's exactly what it is, Gigi. It's to feel like I've been everybody's therapist for so long. It's like, so who do I get to go to and be like, yo, this and this happened, without that conversation going here and then detouring back to something about them, because that's what ends up happening.
Yep. And I'll be like, yep, listen, all I need you to do is just do this and just sit. I don't need anything else. That's it. Just let me do this. We're good.
Yeah, but the 4-year-olds in us come out, and a lot of adults that I tend to talk to sometimes, it's like the attention span is like, wait a minute, what you say? I didn't hear you. You were saying? Like,
I'm not telling you. I literally just yell squirrel. Yeah. Like, stop that. Right. Like, squirrel. Every time you go off tangent, that's not what we're discussing right now.
Squirrel, not the squirrel. That's hilarious.
Squirrel.
That's hilarious. It's just squirrel in the middle of it.
I love that. That's my favorite thing to yell sometimes from like, what is it? Up. Squirrel.
That's exactly where that's from. Hilarious.
Squirrel.
That was a great movie.
Like, we're on a tangent.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to releasing it. I really am, because in releasing the book, there's a whole lot of stuff that's being released. Believe me.
Yes. I am looking forward to this. All right. So I am going to step back to the side. Okay. We can sit here and chat for another hour and some change. Yeah, man, I'm gonna go get a drink and a plate, and I promise you I'll be back. But no, seriously. And that also reminds me, we need to sit and have drinks outside of this.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's a public hey, accountability deal.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm a whiskey drinker. Let's go.
Shit. You ain't said none but a word. But I am going to step to the side. I'm going to let you do another piece to close us out, and then I'm going to bring my co-host back and take some questions.
All right, cool. So this is from the chat book, not the. I don't know. Would you tell me? You want before you go, out of the chat book or out of body parts?
Ooh. Can I get a preview of body parts, please?
No problem. Okay, cool. You ready?
Uh-huh.
All right, go. All right. I have a confession. I used to wish my daddy was behind them bars. Would give me a better understanding of why he wasn't around and why I spit so well to the beat of my scars. Why I tend to rhyme all my conversations with transparency, currency, and parenting. This flow be all I know. Nah, he was more bar stools and drooling over white shit like crack, his sneakers, and white women. My tab stayed open as a rule. Liquefy my linguistics since I can no longer smoke a spliff. Social sipping, temper my shit. An addictive personality belong more to those trying to get in my pocket. My daddy closed his tab out at his children. NA was more not applicable where we were concerned. He learned judgment where I learned discern. So he punished himself at every turn. It seems if he went right, though, he left the willingness to learn something about his offspring. Maybe that's why I feel so off every spring. When new things supposed to bloom, I'm trying not to feel some kind of way about how I think this is just a time men come out to play. Ain't nobody taking shit seriously today, it seems, not even me. Forgetting somehow that I could choose. Prepared more for the game than the win. Like how to play it, how to stay in it, and how to lose. My daddy taught me finite street shit by virtue of his double helix. I learned the rest of it right there in the mix. Like God and gangster ain't so different. He born with this swag and a dip that had many women on his hip. The angels in his throat made it easier for him to croon his way in with those a little more difficult. My mama was swooped up pretty quick by both. She being just a little bit green. Her mama's broken English and family mode on Philippines didn't leave much room for my mama to say more than she was seeing. And the black magic in his skin abracadabraed the sin and disdain right out of my grandmother because she could be mean. Meanwhile, they fell for the love story. Conceived me and a new story began that didn't include him till I was a grown woman. Life taught me early the meaning of let go. But life told him when it gets too hard, just go. I don't know the ins and outs of his story back then, where he ended up or why he rolled out. I know that I have a natural pull that makes people want to know what I'm about, why I speak so soft, why I myself don't find it hard to just be out. I know that the angels in my throat wear G-strings. I know that everything ain't always as it seems. I know street between sheets and beings, both bitch and brave. I know I'm a spirit experiencing human things. I know my daddy fine and I got it from him. My mama's beauty, though, is why I don't hate him. I imagine fatherhood did more than scare him. And that foster home, more like a halfway house, did nothing to prepare him or the world for a boy that had a girl that gave birth to a girl from North Philly. I imagine that it took him till I was grown to really come up for air. I imagine his life for a while, it faced his fucked up decisions. And life imitating art brought a great deal of derision. And although I added to his life, I know mine was created out of division. Learning to stand still while everyone else runs is a fool's curse. When you're already a fool, though, what could be worse? I learned to be a boss and to stand up for my own heart and not on my hands when up against loss. To logically explain to my emotions that our pains are just as unpleasant as carrying a cross, because I imagine my father felt he had one to bear. Not that it came across. Father felt that he had one to bear. Not that it came across like he didn't care, not that it came across like he couldn't care, more like he didn't. I learned everything for a reason, maybe just a season. I'm getting it together, y'all. Maybe it's just a season. I'm the ugly, broken, beautiful pieces of what has been created and destroyed, but this lifetime, I don't blame him. I don't expect an explanation, and I don't want his repentance, because though not behind those bars, he still ended up in my sentence. And this is my penance. Yeah. Shoo. That's right. Took me a minute. My bad.
No, them next to last lines. Oh my God.
What's up, Shay? What's up, Shay? Kaniki? How miss?
We all kind of stuck at that last line.
Right. We all kind of had a moment like, hold up.
Yeah, I was like, hold on. I was so stuck in the fact that I got stuck in the other lines that, yeah. Now I always have to land that line. You got to land that line. Yeah.
Oh, wait a second.
Trust me, if all of us were sitting here like, what the hell?
Our not so secret male member in the background.
I see. I saw him in the chat. How you going, Mr. Brown?
It's so good to see you, my dear. So good to see you.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, that whole last thing still ended up in my sentence.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
And this is my penance, you know?
Yes.
Because, start off with the confession. You know how they do that.
Mm-hmm.
Your penance is 15 Hail Marys.
Yeah.
My penance is all the other things. It's not hard for me to just be out. The angels in my throat wear G-strings. I say what the fuck I want to say. Like, you know what I mean? Like that type of thing.
Right. So, Rob.
Gigi, don't laugh at me. Yes, ma'am.
So my question to you was, you have done a lot in the poetry world. Is there anything that you haven't done that you would like to do?
There are other artists that I would love to work with, and to collab with, and to be on projects with. But having been in that arena and still in that arena, because I'm still called to record with other artists and such, I feel like it's not too difficult at this point to manifest that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are some other artists I would love to work with, though, for sure. And I want to do my own show. There's an artist. She became very popular as a result of Instagram, and has a ton of followers, and just did her own show at Constitution Hall. I was tripped out. Now, Constitution always been this like huge venue in my mind, but it's not. It's not even as big as the Anthem down on the waterfront. It's not as big as that, and I didn't realize that. But that didn't matter to me. It's like she did a show. It was her show. She had somebody open for her. She had a poet open for her.
It's a big deal, though.
And I want to do it. Not I want to do it.
You're going to.
I find myself working towards that. Because I told Kinniki this before. I think wanting something keeps you in a wanting state. Because you only ask to want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, you did tell me that, and you also told me what people think about me is not my business.
It's not. It's really not. It's really not.
Sam wants to be a part of the show.
Sam, it's okay. Sam.
Yes, you know what? She's also our not so silent member. So now, Analysis, you have to share the stage. Analysis met her when she was about 6 weeks old and had her doing the Black Power fist. She's been doing it ever since. Black Beautiful. Power. He said, "Give the baby help." He was like, and the baby.
That's right.
Maybe not here. We here.
Yes. I do want to shout out, since nobody brought this up, that I not so long ago seen my dearest friend, who was, let me also preface this, before she was married, she was my sister wife for a long time. I called her my sister wife for a very, very, very long time. So I was like, I had to give up. So I had to just call her my sister now, since she's somebody else's wife. Oh no, she was my sister wife for years, right? But anyway, so now she's just my sister. Right, so I had to let the wife title go. But anyway, I wanted to shout out that I saw her on stage and get a standing ovation at the Kennedy Center for I Am Women, for the Women in Hip Hop, hosted by MC Light. It was the bomb. She was the person who came out and did a poem and got a standing ovation. Listen, I'm all in the balcony like, that's my friend. I know her.
I saw that list and I was like, oh my God, I'm mad I didn't get back around to that too, because it's in my list of things.
Yo, it's wild because when you're focused, I was backstage and Slick Rick came up to me and he spoke to me and I was like, I don't mean no disrespect. How you doing, bro? It's nice to meet you. I'm trying to make sure I get in the focus down. You know what I mean? So it was interesting.
If I'm not mistaken, one of our previous guests did Beat Your Face. Wasn't it Mamie? Mamie, did you make it?
Yep.
We had her on the show. So shout out to Mamie too.
Mamie, we should have said it at the beginning. If y'all missed her Halloween beats last month, go back. Catch up, girl. Go back.
Mamie,
every year Halloween, go back.
Mamie is just she's just such a sweet spirit, man. She's such a sweet spirit. Yes. She was like a little kid. She was like, "Rah, thank you so much." I'm like, "Thank you for like." It wasn't like you got to the show and that's how I paid you. I still had to pay you. You know what I'm saying? So, but she was so excited to be around all of these artists that were like, legends. But like in her mind, like she was just like, I got to see this person, I got to see that person. Mm-hmm. And every time some people we didn't even know were going to hit the stage because they weren't even on the list. They said we would come through last minute, and she was just like, I can't believe I just, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And she just had such a good time, and it was just me and her. That was the entourage. Mm-hmm. That was it. I didn't have a lot of people backstage with me. I didn't want a lot of people. Other artists did. I didn't. Mamie was perfect. She let me do my thing. She let me go off and, recite to myself out loud while everybody stared at you. And she held me. Now let me tell you something, Nikki.
She's a list of favorite people.
I Mamie is a beautiful. I'm telling you, she's a sweet spirit. I turned around to leave the stage, and Mamie said, "Rob, turn around. They're standing up." And I was like, "I can't." She was like, "You too damn cool." Because for real, I'm going off the stage. She was like, "Turn around." I was like, "I can't.
They were standing up. I stood up the whole. I'll let you know. I stood up the whole poem. When you came out, I stood up the whole time. The whole time I was standing. I was like, "Yeah, we gonna stand up."
Hilarious.
Yeah,
that was a good time. That was a good time. And
yeah.
I didn't.
And as we was leaving, all these women in the hip hop, I was walking back to the car with 13, and I said, "So who did you enjoy?" He said, "Raw. You can't say Raw. She our friend. Don't say her first. You gotta say something." He was like, "Well,"
he was like, "I'm not even gonna lie to you. You might."
It was the truth. It was the truth.
Not gonna hold you.
You know, I'm not gonna hold you. No cap.
Let me say, why is baby? Y'all hear that baby? Why is that baby whining? Because that baby was she was in here looking at you. I had you up on YouTube on the screen, and now she can't see you. So now she's mad because she can't hear your voice. So that's why
Sam met me, and it just like that.
Yeah, that's what it is. So let me ask you a question. Let me see. I'm supposed to ask you a question like I don't know you.
Okay.
Are you better? Let me first say that you look exactly like you looked when I first met you, hair and all. Let me start with that. Okay.
Oh, I did.
Back to the fro.
That's true.
Back to the fro.
Although I probably didn't do this then, but go ahead.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Are you better heard or read?
Heard.
You think so?
I think
because
so.
When I read that book, though, I was like, "This is."
But Kaniki, my voice is amazing. So
your voice is amazing.
It is. That's why I was like this, because I was like, yeah, but your voice though.
No, it's I've heard that over time. Not that it's amazing, but that if they can hear you, they need to hear you, Rob. So I'm gonna say heard.
Yes, definitely. Taught me a lot about. I'm loud. That's just who I am. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to be loud. I just loud. My mama loud. My daddy loud. I'm loud. I just got it. But most calm spirit in hosting. And definitely taught me how to move a crowd along. You know what I mean? Still say a little something in the beginning and able to get so many people on the list in a short amount of time. Exactly. Right. And that's what I always enjoy in U Street. I did meet you in 2000. I came and you were already there. So I met you in the beginning. Very welcoming to everybody all the time. Cool. And just a calm spirit. Lorna Pigney, rest her soul, said that the host job is to control energy. And I would definitely say that you do that very, 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 very well. Very well. But I can ask him many questions, but I'm gonna let Miss Cayenne jump in there.
I'm gonna jump in. How you doing, Rob? My name is Miss Cayenne. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be here in the beginning.
No doubt.
And I was able to catch the latter part. I'm gonna say this: controlling the energy. I'm watching on my phone, right? Because I'm traveling back home, and then I came into the computer room, and I'm just mesmerized by your tone and your timbre. I'm just centered. I'm ready to go to sleep right about now. You're so soothing. You're so calm. So I know you've heard that 1,000 times, but that in and of itself is a gifting that is powerful. Even your words obviously are powerful, right? But your delivery and your spirit and your tone, all of that plays a part. And just watching on the screen, I've been moved. Whether you were reading a poem or not, I was just moved. So shout out to that gift alone. Your voice is powerful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So one of my questions I ask on my segment, which is passion projects, the root of your why, at the end is a few whimsical questions. But this one, I like to always pick your brain and find out if you had a billboard that was dedicated to your words alone, a billboard that would be posted and last even when you're gone, that your words would be there. What would your billboard say?
It would say, pain doesn't decompose when you bury it.
Pain
it would say that, especially because you said I'm gone. That's what it would say. Pain doesn't decompose when you bury it. That was an important thing said to me when I was younger by my mother, and it ends up in almost every book. It's a quote, like it's just, and that's what it would say. It's that's huge for me. And when I got to a point where I knew I understood what she meant, I knew that there was a other work. People find themselves and there's self-improvement, and they take all these classes and they do things to themselves cosmetically and such. And that right there was that taught me that that's the type of work I need to do, because your body manifests what your mind harbors. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And if pain doesn't decompose when you bury it, then what is it doing to my internal world? This is the only vehicle I get this lifetime. You know what I'm saying? No matter how much I want to alter it, no matter how much anybody out here alters it, you know what I mean? No matter how many injections you get, and it's just the only vehicle we get. And so pain doesn't decompose when you bury it. That's what I would put up there. And you know what? I wouldn't even want my name there. I would want, Ra's mom and then her name under. So
Beautiful. Gotcha. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah,
that's powerful. Yeah. Okay, that's my question.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great to meet you. I was like, Miss Cayenne. Okay, I don't know Miss Cayenne. That's cool.
I know, right. I was like, oh man.
Not yet. We'll have us all in the same room. I promise you.
Yes.
Word. Okay.
Amazing spirit. Spirit. Go ahead, Analysis. I'm gonna shut up.
Well, yeah, it's fun for me every week to watch the folk that maybe Cayenne was not familiar with, and how those people impact her immediately. And it's a shout out both to you, Ra, and to Cayenne, in terms of her picking up that spirit that we've all known, for so long. But here you are on the other side of a screen for an hour, and you still had that immediate impact.
Wow.
And that type of calm, that type of and I don't mean calm in like some little, mealy meal, little flimsy way but there's a quiet strength. All right. And the fact that can be picked up by somebody else through the computer screen in 45 minutes shows how real and strong that is. But I mean, it's so good to see you, dear.
Thank you.
I really just came on to give a shout about something you all have already talked about in terms of Rob Brown's Will Work for Food. And that was one of the first venues that when I moved back to Maryland 10 years ago, and had just been in the poetry game for a few years, getting grounded in it up in Connecticut. And I moved back to Maryland, and that really immediately became one of my home venues. And in every sense of that word, when we say home venue, in terms of being comfortable, in terms of the love and the spirit, it was a cozy little, for those that may be listening, not familiar with Sweet and Natural, I mean, we're talking about a tiny small shop in Mount Rainier, Maryland, outside of Northeast DC. Delicious food, delicious vegan restaurant. And so even before hearing you discuss it tonight, I wanted to come in to give you your props for the energy and the way you handle the deftness with which you handle that, to make it such a comfortable, relaxing place where people, whether they had no experience or people the level of Maimuna and so forth and so on, came through.
They came through.
And and felt at home. Ironically enough, the Fifth L were on last week, and so I told listeners the story that long before either Femi or I were in the poetry scene, Femi and I knew each other because he was one of my students, and we had not been in contact. And it was at Will Work for Food.
Oh, wow.
Where Femi and I first got back in contact, and I was like, oh shit, this brother that done grown up to be a top-notch artist and so forth and so on. I mean, I can literally remember almost tearing up sitting there in Sweet and Natural, like just looking at what this young brother has done, and the fact that, here I was looking up at one of my former students because, I was just getting in the game for a few years. And so that was the type of atmosphere it created. Someone that I became very close with, we met there, at that venue. So you created that type of comfortable thing. Now, here's an interesting thing in light of what you said tonight. And I missed some of the session tonight. I had to step out and take care of something for work. But even just what I heard, your host game, as has been commented on by Gigi and everybody else, your host game is vicious and storied, and obviously your resume runs deep with that. I did not even know how deep your emceeing and hosting background went. I knew you as the beloved sister who had the wonderful, comfortable down-home venue in Mount Rainier.
Right.
A lot of your hosting background and your being on stage background, I didn't know. So that even adds to it for me, because as you alluded to, you're someone who values paying artists. You're used to being able to move greater money in terms of venues and artists' hands. And yet in a situation like Sweet and Natural, where you weren't working with budget, hence your very apropos name, will work for fruit, but you weren't working for budget, but you still had people come and say, we love Rob, we love this venue, we love people in it, and we will come to do that. I was coming without even having known your background. I knew it just because it was home. So that to me says a lot in terms of your ability to be top host in major stages, and yet your commitment to people and providing a space for people to do something very small and off budget like that,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sweet Natural was interesting. Kaniki said you thought I was just trying to introduce people to vegan food.
Yes, because you're the only vegan that I knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're the only vegan. When I met in 2000, I was like, vegan? You don't eat meat? What is vegan? Was really, I didn't know any people who were vegan. So I just thought, hey, you just come in here and get this food. And the food was amazing.
It really was. I'm not gonna lie. It really was.
And she said a plate of food, like when you featured at Sweet and Natural, you got a week worth of food. Like they gave you like everything on the thing. Everything on the thing.
I want to say I had spaghetti and meatballs.
You probably did. I'm sure. Yeah. No, thank you for that analysis. I appreciate that, bro. I mean, I don't know that I was trying to do that. I just wanted to to fulfill something. I wanted to do what I said I was going to do for a friend of mine who asked me to host there. After asking me for a long time when I kept saying I don't want to, because I wanted to create, if I was going to host again, I wanted to create a vibe like that of Mangoes. Mm-hmm. And just going into that venue, I was like, how am I going to do that here? You know what I mean? And then I said, well, Raquel, you don't have to do that here. We'll just create another vibe. You know what I mean? Make another Hove like that. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to do it like that. So yeah,
the piece was there. The piece was there.
The piece was there.
Yeah, it really was.
It really was. That was, We'll Work for Food was Sweet and Natural Will Work for Food was an amazing vibe. I loved when I go down. I loved when it was going on.
I think I wanted to, because my sister was involved with Mangoes. My sister collected at the door. My sister means a lot to me. You know what I mean? She means a lot to me, and that was that was exciting for her to collect the money at the door. This is my baby sister. Back when she was in her early 20s, she was diagnosed, paranoid schizophrenic. And so coming out to Mangoes was that was her piece. Mm-hmm. And so because it was her piece, it was mine. You know what I mean? And that was a big deal to me. And so that was part of the reason why I was like, I don't want to do, what family member am I going to get to come to the door? And then I was like, well, we don't even have to have anybody at the door.
Right.
So we'll pass around a basket and we'll just do it like that. And I'll make sure that I call as many people as I possibly can that will just do me this favor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I did what I did at Mangoes for so long. Let me see how many favors I can call in.
You can call. You are the person who can send a text message and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna do a pop-up open mic tomorrow. I'm gonna make a post. Hey, y'all come through. We're gonna have a bonfire. This is the last thing that you do in my yard." And it was packed.
It was packed.
Yeah,
that's one thing, Kaniki. That's one thing, Kaniki. But there's another thing to call in these favors when you're the type of artist and type of person that wants to make sure people get paid.
Let me say this, because 99% of the time when you ask me to do something, it's paid. So if you ask me 1% of the time to do something, you can get it for free. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like everything, you're like, I'll make sure you get paid, I'll make sure you get paid, I'll make sure. So I know if I do something for you, right, I'm going to do it because you're my friend, but I know if I'm going to do something for you, the next time something come through, I know I ain't pay you this time, but here goes something that's paid.
Hey, but you know what else too, though, y'all? The other thing too, though, is that I didn't know, and you're right, analysis, it was a small space. So as I'm looking at that and the capacity for that space, I'm like, Mangoes, it was a Tuesday night, y'all.
Yeah.
And I packed that joint in at over
Hold
100
on.
people. Over 100 people every single Tuesday.
Mhm.
Without fail, like every Tuesday. People met their husbands there. People met their long-time mates there and still together to this day. And it's like, I wanted to, I don't know, I think I wanted to pack it in like that. If it wasn't going to be like that, I was like, I don't really want to do it. Because I was so used to showing up and there's a whole crowd of people. There's people sitting on the floor in the aisles.
Right.
On a Tuesday. That was just fascinating to me.
People just stand up the whole time. I'll just stand up the whole time.
With no social media, just all word of mouth. And it was just, yeah.
Yes, that's definitely what community did back in the day. That's how I actually found out about Mangoes. And so you're right. I found out about Mangoes going to Bar None. I found out about, because people, they stood up and said, for more poetry, and I had a notebook. If you wanted, that's how I found out about Baltimore. People would promote each other all the time. This is how we did it back in the day, y'all. We supported each other.
I found out about AOC that way too. Art of Conversation found out that way too.
Yeah, man. I mean, all of those, and so it was, that was a big deal to me. And so I wanted to create something that was similar to that, but I'm glad it wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't similar to that. I'm glad it was something different, and I was able to see what else I could do, what other vibe I could create. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the word "work for food" was just, and I wanted that to be understood. Working for food, y'all. So
yeah.
But this basket, whatever's in this basket, is yours too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do that too. So, and at the time we met, Sweet Natural rather. At the time we met, Kaniki, I was 4 years vegan. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like vegan.
We're working on 26 years now. So yeah.
Yep. Definitely. Yep. When I want to know, when people ask you what you do for a living, what do you say?
I say I write. I'm a writer.
You say you write, yeah.
That's what I say.
That makes sense. And you do that.
Yeah, I do that. And as the bio said, Gigi, I do that well.
Yep, it does. It does. It absolutely does. The very last sentence.
And I do that well.
I mean,
literally said,
you gotta know what it said. You gotta know what it is you do well. I'm telling you. You have to know. Dwayne calls himself the crochet kingpin.
There it is.
He
ain't lied.
I don't see nothing wrong.
Miss Cayenne say she a poet and she knows
it.
What? So it's all of that. It's all of that. I want to hear. Excuse me, y'all. And I love your analysis, I really do. Miss Cayenne, I just wanted to hear your question because I hadn't spoken to you before. So thank you. I really want to hear Sherry's question though.
Oh, I said one about. I asked about what have you done? What would you like to do that you haven't done yet?
You did. You saw my face. I was like,
mm-hmm. All right. So you know what? I'm gonna pull this one.
Is that Jeff? Is that
Jeff?
Hey,
Jeff. What's up? You know what? I am gonna pull one from my interview. Actually,
Jeff know I'm this little. Talking about Big Rod. He funny as hell.
I got two for you. I'm gonna pull two from my interview.
Okay.
Do you have another creative outlet? And if not, is there something else you would like to learn?
I would like to learn or be more fluent in French. I know enough of it to go to a country and get me by. But in terms of learning something else, it would be a language. It would be a language. That would be, because I like it. That's a great challenge, I think. You know what I mean? That's it.
Oh, shoot. Now I'm flipping between two questions. I could ask him my last one or the 1 hour conversation.
Ooh, the 1 hour conversation. I want to hear the answer to this.
So the answer is this, Rod. Anyone, living or dead, who would you like to sit on the bench and have a 1 hour conversation with?
Okay. Because there's a gentleman that's alive today that kind of took his place, so to speak. But Osho, I would want to sit down for 1 hour and have a conversation with Osho.
Okay.
Got it.
Because
Osho. I don't know Osho.
OSHO. Because I have conversations with people all the time, right, Sherry?
Right.
And it's very moon stars and quasars for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't let up. That's the problem they have. But they can't walk away. They won't walk away. And they keep coming back even after they do walk away. And when they walk away, at that time it's because I pushed their ass away. It's too much now. You know what I mean? So, but I like to dive into the understanding that going through the mundane that this life can be is what puts you on the other side and actually is reality. I like having those conversations, like that. All that we experience right now is just this elaborate illusion, and to get through this mundane, the navigating this life without thought actually puts you on the side of reality. And I know that he could have that conversation with me. You know what I mean? Not that the six of us couldn't, but I'm saying it's something that he introduced. He didn't introduce me to it, but he introduced different parts of it, different perspectives for me, and I would like to explore those. So it would be Osho.
Okay, I have to interject here because I just got a text from my mama. Shout out to my mama who's watching. She said, "Tell Ra," she said, "Tell Ra I love her and she is amazing."
Tell her I said thank you. You know I love your mama.
But she watching. She watching.
Yeah, you know I love you. You better stop playing.
Go ahead, Gigi. Last question of the night.
Yes, Gigi.
I'm gonna ask you the last question of the night.
Yes, ma'am.
I say this, and if you've seen this before, it's the hardest question you will answer all night.
Okay.
I always say this, and people looking at me like, "Yeah, right." All right, here you go. You ready? Hardest question all night. Now that you've been on the show, who do you think would make a good guest? Any segment, not just this one.
I think that Rashid would make a good guest.
We've had Rashid Copeland. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. On my segment, matter of fact.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Yeah.
Rashid,
that was also amazing. That was amazing. That was an amazing because that was right in the middle of it. Yeah.
To like read it, just the way he kind of puts stuff together. But if I know who, I don't think you've had this person, but you know who else I would like to see since you've had Rashid, Amir Suleiman.
Somebody mentioned Amir too.
Okay, I did, and I'll tell you why. So really quick, when I lived in Atlanta, right? I started really doing poetry like really heavy when I lived in Atlanta, and every time I go to this one particular spot, Amir was always there. I promise you, and this is back like when Def Jam came out, and Amir's doing all the things. And my only request to the host was every single time, please, 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 for the love of everything holy, do not put me behind Amir. Every freaking time. Every time he put me right behind Amir. And I'm like, I want to be mad at you, but I can't follow this up. And then he hit me with, if anybody follows this up, it's got to be you. Why? Why do you do this? And the host for that show was Malik. Stop doing this to me.
You have to do it. And it's the somebody, did you say it, Miss Cayenne, earlier? It's the timbre, it's his voice. It's what he's saying in his voice. It's like the combination is just like, that's all I do when I hear him.
The insanity of the combination of what he's saying and how he's saying it.
I'm a real big person. I'm real big on clever. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm real big on clever. Just, they said, like, you know what I mean? Just bars. Oh, I'm real big on that. And so that combined with the voice to deliver the clever, I'm like, you know, Suleiman. That would be the one.
The funniest thing is I have had him on a personal hit list. Like, I need to call you and get you on this show for some time. The funniest thing about it is just in regular conversation, like, he's the most laid back, like, you want to find him, you know, I have this joke in my bio about, if you want to find me, I'm in the corner reading a book or plotting world domination. No, that's him. That's his bio. I promise you it is. You want to find him, he's in a corner someplace reading somebody's book and probably plotting world domination.
I'm here for it. Exactly. All right, everyone. So the first thing we're going to do is everyone in the back, everyone in behind the scenes, please give a huge round of applause for our guest this evening, Rob Brown.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I am so happy. I know we are all excited, and I'm very happy that we were able to get this interview in.
Me too.
We will be back again next Sunday. Ms. Cayenne is hosting, and our guest is?
Our guest is L.W. Luther Wright, which is a painter. He is a force to be reckoned with in his own right. So I'm getting excited already thinking about diving into his story. And he doesn't just paint paintings, but he's, you know, influencing the community as activists with his work. So that's our guest for next week.
Very nice.
Oh, cannot wait. So we will be back next week here at 7 p.m. As we say every week, stay safe, wash your hands, stay healthy. You know, we got everything running in these streets. Let's not try to catch anything.
Yeah.
We will, again, back here on Facebook and live and YouTube at 7 p.m. on Spotify. Hello, we welcome you as well. And everyone, see you next week.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.